Donkey Kong Bananza is a smashing good time, with Pauline clutching onto the fur of his back as the pair of them race to the centre of the planet. You'll be rampaging across the landscapes of each level, slapping rock-encased enemies around and dig-punching yourself into a gluttonous frenzy of screen-filling, button-mashing as you search for the Moorish bananas that DK just goes gaga for. This has been an awfully long time since the last Donkey Kong 3D platformer. He literally only has Rare's Donkey Kong 64 Collectathon to his name, and gaming tech has moved on such that this is a completely different feeling game. Having experimented lightly with voxel deformation in Super Mario Odyssey, this same team from Nintendo EPD Tokyo has now made this into a core part of Donkey Kong Bananza, changing everything from how the world appears visually to how DK can get around and how you can transform the levels just by smashing stuff. It is utterly rambunctious stuff, letting you punch and smash through the world and enemies alike. You'll actually feel a little bit naughty as you do so. Should I really just be cutting a straight line to the banana-shaped sonar pulse that I'm hunting? Isn't there a hard-working level designer in Japan who's going to be shedding a tear because I'm ignoring the carefully designed, visually signposted path through to the next story beat? And am I not quote-unquote breaking the game by clipping the camera through the world and then filling the screen with shards of rock, gold and glass as I hammer the punch and jump buttons together? But in truth, this must be exactly what Nintendo intends. Arguably, just as with the chaotic messiness of Mario Kart World's larger world and races, there's some key areas here where Nintendo is giving in almost, and accepting that this is just going to be a messier style of platformer. They've obviously designed around this, ramping up the dopamine hits with more regular collectible Bonandium gems to find, more upgrades and costumes to unlock, more opportunities to branch off for another punch-filled frenzy, another challenge level, before returning to the main path and then probably getting distracted about 2 seconds later once again. As intentional as all of this is, you can still easily get lost in the underground chaos. The camera flips back and forth between obscuring the world outside with a foggy haze and revealing it with a kind of no-clip-like view, and the tunneling becomes almost overwhelming until you stop, take a breath, and then try to figure out how you're going to get back outside. But as indulgent as the digging and deformation can be, DK still plays with all of the natural, almost effortless control that you would expect from a Nintendo platformer. It's just that instead of that coming in the form of triple jumps, hat twirls and dives, DK's movement is more about lumbering in a chosen direction, no matter what is in the way. He can pretty much clamber up almost any vertical surface with ease, getting up and over in fast and fluid fashion, even if he is holding a big chunk of rock in his hands, so he's literally just climbing with his feet. But of course there are some limits to this, so there could be spiked vines, lava or something slippery that he can't grip onto, but you've still got an awful lot of freedom in this regard. Add to that the forward tumbles, the unlockable skills like double jumping off of a rock, and there's a good deal of core 3D platforming to master, all of which feels great. And then there are the Bonanza transformations. Learned from the towering elders that lead each underground animal tribe that you meet, Bonanza transformations give DK big and bold new abilities. It starts with Kong Bananza, who's basically just a bigger and even smashier version of DK, but you will quickly get Zebra Bonanza for speedy running across soft surfaces that other forms will fall through. There's also Ostrich Bonanza, who can glide and even drop egg bombs down on unsuspecting enemies below. And there's some other forms beyond these as well. Kong Bananza though is the go-to form for much of the game, almost universally appropriate in combat, for souped up digging and when you just need to get a bit meaner. The other forms are more better suited to areas and challenges that have been designed specifically for them, and I rarely actually use them outside of those situations. Yes, turning into the zebra can be faster to get around, but since I'll need to recharge the Bonanza meter with gold once I've run out of juice, I might as well just rock surf or take a few extra moments to get where I'm going. And where we're going is deep down to the planet's core in a race against the Void Crew. This trio of devious Kongs crash DK's own mining operation down to a sub-level of the world, inadvertently then pairing him up with what turns out to be a younger version of Pauline, who we now know as the mayor of New Donk City. Her powerful singing is what transforms DK each and every time into his Bonanza form. She's the only English-speaking character in the tale, though her Bonanza songs are kind of gibberish and sound like a cross between Splatoon and the Fever songs of Patapon. And while her story is relatively simple and her motivations are basic, she is still a great addition. She adds a little bit more heart to the tale, where DK's only real emotion is angry or eyes turning into bananas. Pauline is also there for co-op mode, handing her shouting and the control over transformations to the second player, whether locally using pointing or mouse mode, a second switch with game share, or online via game chat. We've only been able to try out the same console co-op mode, but it works really well. Her shouting manifests itself as words in the form of rocks, but she can also absorb other materials and then shout in those instead. And this works really nicely to support the main player, potentially with extra explosives. It is an experience that lands somewhere between the co-op modes of Super Mario Galaxy and Odyssey, so it's not essential, but it is a nice additive if you do have two people that want to explore this game together. Joy-Con 2 motion and mouse controls then also get a bit of a workout in the sculpting of DK Artist, which is available from the main menu. As the pair journey on, heading to the planet's core to have their dreams made true, one wanting bananas, the other wanting to get back to the surface, and I'll leave you to figure out which one's which, they find that the Void Crew has cursed each level with some kind of plight, leaving impediments and enemies to get in your way. The combat with the enemies brings us back to that almost mindless bludgeoning. Most enemies have got an outer shell, made out of one of the world materials, and this really highlights some of their interactions. DK can easily clobber his way through soft sand to get to the golden enemy skeleton inside, but it will take a bit more hitting to get through stone, which means that you might need to watch out for an incoming attack. But then if it's concrete, nasty spiked vines, even lava, you need to have a different approach, potentially ripping up chunks of hard material out of the ground to hit them with instead, or then throwing those rocks or even explosive materials at them to bust through their armour. While that does change how you approach them, Donkey Kong Bonanza does still lean pretty heavily on these material variants of around about half a dozen basic enemy types. It does get a bit repetitive in that regard. You can also feel some of that repetition with the boss battles. Some are just straight up punchathons that can last moments in a flurry of Kong Bananza's fists, while others have got a more traditional three-part structure, and there's more that are best tackled with another particular Bonanza form. But you'll face many of them 2 or 3 times as you work your way down through the world's levels, and I think that is part of why a portion of the game's final third feels a bit stretched out to me. In addition to the feeling that you're making use of certain Bonanza powers just out of obligation. But on the whole, the game's pacing and variety is still great. For the more traditional stages, you start off at around 100th level, reach a village or meet an elder, and then branch off to tackle objectives that can take you 1 or 2 sub-levels below, and so there is an impressive scale to what you're finding in each locale, especially as they change the tone, add more challenge and variety as you go. But that's not true of every level, and there's some great change of pace moments and environments that are wholly unexpected. And did you say cameos? Oh yes, there's a good few of those as well. So all in all, Donkey Kong Bonanza is a kind of intoxicating cacophony of brawling, digging and platforming. It's a new style of 3D platformer for this team at Nintendo that, for better or for worse, embraces the destructive chaos of letting players deform and tunnel through the world. And that is a wrap for our review on Donkey Kong Bonanza. I hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen here, and before you go, please make sure to do the usual YouTube things, hit like, subscribe, you know the drill by now, and hopefully we will see you again soon. Goodbye!
Bonanza!